Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a moment of silence to acknowledge the lives of Al Sterling and Philando Castile.
Oh my God, please, officer, don't tell me that you just did this to him.
Shots fired. Saying the suspect has a rifle.
Right now, why did you not get him here? I'm Manila Chan in Washington, D.C. We have special coverage this evening after a week of violence across the country. First, an incredible scene in Dallas, Texas last night as the downtown metro area became a war zone. Peaceful Black Lives Matter activists were marching through the streets alongside Dallas police and transit authority when semi-automatic gunfire rang out. The melee caught on multiple cell phone cameras, which resulted in the deaths of 5 police officers and a standoff with a lone gunman who was eventually killed by police explosives.
This morning was apparently the first time that police in this country have rigged a robot with a bomb to kill a suspect.
Dallas police say they used a bomb disposal robot to take out the suspected shooter Micah Johnson last night. It delivered a small amount of the explosive C4, typically used by SWAT teams to breach or blow open a door. Chief David Brown.
Negotiations broke down. We had an exchange of gunfire with the suspect. We saw no other option.
It's a tactic used extremely rarely by the military and likely for the first time by U.S. law enforcement. Last June, Dallas police used a bomb disposal robot to detonate pipe bombs found inside a suspect's van.
He's killed 5 of your officers. So you have got a Scud missile, and it is ready to go off.
Mary Ellen O'Toole is a former FBI hostage negotiator and profiler.
So if the same fact pattern were to exist tomorrow, the task force commander would have to make the same decision.
Because this is essentially uncharted territory, Scott, it's raising a lot of questions about the future of robots in policing and use of force, especially deadly force.
Police officers are understandably on guard all over the country now. Jerika Duncan has more on that.
Authorities believe a man in Tennessee shot and wounded a police officer Thursday morning because he was, quote, troubled by recent incidents involving police and blacks. Officers have also been targeted in Georgia and Missouri since 2 black men were shot and killed by white officers this week. And a law enforcement official tells CBS News that social media threats towards police have been on the rise since the shootings in Dallas. Taking defensive measures, departments in several major cities, including New York, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Boston, Washington, and Vegas, are mandating officers patrol in pairs.
Susan Saunders has heard strange explosions near her Alhambra home in California day and night since February. Saunders has continued hearing the loud noises, and when her neighbors began to hear them too, the police were called. The police have received 114 calls about the strange boom since mid-February, but little has been done to solve the mystery. There are no big construction projects in the area. And even Caltech seismologists don't have an answer for the sounds. Jennifer Andrews, a seismologist at Caltech, said, "There's nothing seismic that I can see. What the phenomenon might be, I don't know." A seismograph will pick up waves of pressure from thunder or a helicopter, so an explanation for the Alhambra explosions is truly baffling. The booming mystery has even become a big social event, with residents texting each other or posting on Facebook when the sounds are heard.
A unit of Syrian rebels has suffered defeat at the hands of Islamic State after they were left without any air cover from the US jets, which had changed course to a different target. As a result, ISIL got hold of their advanced weapons, supposedly given to them by the US. RT's Caleb Morpin explains what exactly happened between the US and their Syrian allies on the ground.
Reports are now coming out that last week, when Pentagon-trained forces were in the midst of their battle with ISIL and were relying on U.S. air support, they found that support disappearing over the horizon and heading to a new target, raining their bombs down on the outskirts of the Iraqi city of Fallujah. Explaining the decision, U.S. top brass said there were only finite resources available and they needed to get their priorities right. And on this occasion, Fallujah apparently delivered, quote, the most bang for their buck. Now, this incident raises new questions about the U.S. strategy of training local forces. Now, Washington has refused to acknowledge that the incident was even a defeat, even though it resulted in the death of U.S.-trained fighters and advanced weaponry has now fallen into the hands of the ISIL terrorists.
Well, I'll tell you, it's not an overwhelming defeat because the new Syrian army is still in the fight. They're still partnered with us. We're still providing them support. And whenever they go conduct another operation, you know, we'll be sure to let you know.
Smoke partially obscures the dome of the shrine dedicated to a 12th century Shiite religious figure. At its feet, crews helped clear away rubble from a suicide attack Thursday night that killed dozens and injured scores more. Iraqi security forces say there were 3 men wearing suicide vests, but the manager of the shrine gives a slightly different account.
They were 2 bombers wearing suicide vests. One of them blew himself up at the checkpoint and the other in the yard because the door of the shrine was closed. Some of our security guards grabbed him and passed away as martyrs, but thank God the attackers didn't get inside the Holy Shrine's building.
The Sunni organization Islamic State claims responsibility for the attack. It comes less than a week after Baghdad's worst bombing since U.S.-led forces toppled Saddam Hussein 13 years ago. The massive truck bomb last Saturday killed nearly 300 people in a mainly Shiite shopping area. That attack prompted Iraq's prime minister to dismiss 3 officials in charge of Baghdad's security on Friday. The bombings are raising fears of an escalation in the sectarian strife between Iraq's Shiites and its Sunnis.
When NATO accused Russia of posing a security threat, the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the alliance was looking in the wrong direction.
It's absurd to talk about any threat coming from Russia at a time when dozens of people are dying in the center of Europe and when hundreds of people are dying in the Middle East daily. You have to be an absolutely short-sighted organization to twist things in that way.
At this year's NATO summit in Warsaw, US President Barack Obama announced the US would deploy 1,000 more troops to Poland. That's in addition to the multinational battalions the alliance plans to send to the Baltic states too. Poland and the Baltic states say they want a heightened NATO presence in their countries to prevent a repeat of what happened in Ukraine.
The annexation of Crimea happened in a matter of days. Since then, it has kept Russia's neighbors on the edge, nervous of what Vladimir Putin might do next.
This and NATO's large-scale military exercise in Poland has angered Moscow. The Kremlin says NATO is getting too close to Russia's borders. In January, Russia announced it would create 3 new divisions and bring 5 extra strategic nuclear missile regiments, all to counter a perceived threat from NATO. And earlier this week, Russian troops held military exercises in the country's southern region of Volgograd in a reminder of Russia's efforts to bolster military readiness.
The U.S. missile defense system known as Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, or THAAD in short, will be deployed to the Korean Peninsula. Seoul and Washington's decision will undoubtedly have massive security implications in the Asia-Pacific region.
Well, South Korea's defense minister made the announcement, a big announcement earlier today to deploy THAAD to the Korean Peninsula. Now, that comes after months of negotiations between Seoul and Washington. Now, the THAAD is designed to take down incoming North Korea's ballistic missiles.
The deployment of the THAAD anti-missile system by the U.S. and South Korea is not conducive to achieving denuclearization on the peninsula and maintaining its peace and stability. We urge both the U.S. and South Korea to immediately stop the THAAD anti-missile system deployment process and not to take action to make the regional situation complicated and not to do things that harm China's strategic and security interests.
Russia's Arms Committee at the Russian Federation Council issued the warning immediately after the country's foreign ministry stated that the U.S.-South Korea decision would have irreparable consequences. Russia also warned that the move undermines the established strategic balance in the region and beyond, and that it most negatively affects global strategic stability.
North Korea's foreign ministry issued a statement on Thursday denouncing U.S. sanctions on top leader Kim Jong-un and 10 other officials for alleged human rights abuses. The statement said the U.S. move is the worst hostility and an open declaration of war against the country, adding that Pyongyang is planning its toughest response. Pyongyang also demanded Washington retract the sanctions immediately and unconditionally. The statement came one day after the U.S. Treasury announced the new sanctions covering 5 government entities as well.
An international group is coming to the defense of a controversial Springfield pastor accused of crimes against humanity in a lawsuit. Scott Lively has said he believes homosexual acts should be considered a crime. Shortly after he preached his theories in Uganda, the country passed an anti-gay law causing widespread violence against the LGBT community there. An African human rights group filed a suit against Lively. But now, the Liberty Council, a group focused on ultra-conservative religious freedom, has filed a legal document demanding proof that ties Lively to that violence.
Hold on to something!
The actor playing Sulu in the upcoming Star Trek Beyond has revealed that the fan-favorite character is openly gay and married in the new film, this according to Australian media outlet The Herald Sun. Actor John Cho, who plays the role first made famous by George Takei in the 1966 Star Trek television series, told The Sun that his character is married to a man and shares a daughter with his partner. Cho said the film's scriptwriter and director decided to make the Enterprise helmsman gay to pay tribute to 79-year-old Takei, who is openly gay and married in real life. The announcement comes as Hollywood faces growing pressure to include more diversity in its blockbuster films. There's yet to be an openly gay superhero or action star leading a film franchise.
Typhoon Nepartek. Guys, this is a look at some of the damage that was done in Taiwan. We unfortunately saw 3 people that lost their lives, 3 people dead, and more than 100 people injured in Taiwan. Look at all the damage that has been done to these buildings. Typhoon Nepartek came ashore just after 6:30 a.m. local time near Taitung City. The sustained winds were around 150 miles per hour, which means it was a Category 4 equivalent. However, as it kept moving through Taiwan, the mountainous terrain there started to weaken it considerably. And just so you know, the typhoon was downgraded to a tropical storm on Friday. So the winds went down to around 70 miles per hour. But the concern is, okay, with this, the story is not over from here. It's obviously done its number on Taiwan, but the concern is that we've still got a lot of rainfall coming for portions of eastern China, considerable amounts of rain, and that could be very problematic as we go through the weekend.